Welcome home to St. Anne's. We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you. Please be seated. So there are really two sermons today. I know, woohoo! But I will subtract one of them because I think the other one is the one that we most need to hear. So the one would be the obvious message in this, and it is this. And you may have picked this up as kind of a string that runs through all of our readings today, and that is the idea of the stranger or the foreigner, whatever, who really truly perceives what God is doing in our midst. And that's a really important one. And so I do want to highlight it in the fact that Jesus says this, the 10 lepers go out, but only one, the Samaritan, and oh, by the way, when you hear Samaritan, you say, ooh, bad Samaritans, right? Okay, practice. Boo, bad Samaritans. Okay, because those are the others. We don't like them, you see. So anytime you come across Scripture and they talk about the Samaritans or those other foreigner people, we don't like them. Those are the others. And I'm sure it was just in this time period, and it's not ours, not our time, strictly back then. But there was this idea that people who are different from us are bad. Again, just that time period, not ours. But that's kind of what they're alluding to here. But I think there's the story that we need to hear today is the sermon that I'm going to offer. Okay, so again, a little bit of historical context here. Leprosy is not a good thing. You don't want it. And if you ever see how excited I get when we do the kids song at the end, it's because there is an instrument that is a leper clapper. And it makes me so happy. Because what you guys, some of you know this and some of you don't, I have a degree in medieval history, and I'm a nerd, right? If you haven't noticed that yet. And lepers throughout history are super, super scary. Because leprosy is highly contagious and extremely unpleasant. So kind of how leprosy works is that areas of your body just kind of fall off. Yeah. Necrosis sets in. It's a skin disease, kind of, sort of. So really at the time, they were so afraid of it. Anyone here ever experienced eczema or gotten some weird itchy rash? At that time, we would have been so worried about you that we would have put you in a leper colony because we don't want whatever that is. And now it's like, oh, it's eczema. That's unpleasant. But no, at that time, we were so worried about leprosy that we were like, you got to go. You got to go. So lepers, because it's so contagious and it's so unpleasant because your body parts fall off, and nobody wants that. Because you can't go to heaven if you're missing body parts. I don't know if you... Yeah. I mean, we don't believe that now. Because if I go to heaven, like in this body, forget it. I ain't going. But at the time, you got to have it all together. Because you don't want to be resurrected with missing body parts. That would be unpleasant. So we're really, really worried about leprosy. And it's highly contagious. And we don't know who has it and who doesn't, because you could hide weird eczema spots. So we give you a leper clapper. Because you got to warn people that you are around and you are a leper and you're contagious and you could make their body parts fall off. So you get a little clapper. Or you have to yell really loudly and let people know, like, Jesus, I wouldn't come over here. Because you know what's worse than being crucified? Your body parts falling off. So you stay over there, but by the way, I have leprosy. There are 10 lepers because you can only hang out with other lepers because their body parts are already falling off, so it doesn't matter. So they're hanging out in these little leper colonies in little groups. And would you believe I have not had enough coffee yet today? Crazy, right? Okay, so So they're over there with their little leper clappers, and they're like, Jesus, we got leprosy. And he's like, okay, it's okay. It's okay because I'm not afraid of you. I'm not worried about body parts falling off. I'm going to be crucified. So he has no qualms with the lepers, which is a big deal. And that's a lesson that we need to learn. But then also, I think the important part of this story is, do you get the idea from my bizarre, strange ramblings that leprosy is not a good thing? And you really don't want it, because not only is it an unpleasant disease, but it removes you from society entirely, right? So you really don't want it. It's very unpleasant to have. And so Jesus comes along and he heals you. So think about that for a second. You have gone from extreme being ostracized. You have no community. Your body is falling apart. You're disgusting. It stinks, because it turns out when body parts die, before they die and fall off, it stinks, because dead bodies, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this or not, but they're kind of gross. And so it's really extremely unpleasant. And you also have no community, because you can't be around the rest of us, because we don't want our body parts to fall off too. So you have no community, no way of making a living, and you're dying slowly and miserably. And Jesus comes along and he heals you. And in that healing, you can return to society. So not only are you not dying miserably anymore, but now you can return to your community. You can live with your family. You can be in your community. You can have a living again. That's kind of a big deal. Do you get that? Okay, and so when Jesus comes along, these 10 folks who are together, and he heals them in every way that you can think of. Spiritually, emotionally, physically, they are healed. And so they're super, super excited, right? And so they go off. But one of them recognizes what just happened. And he could have been, and remember, if you are suddenly healed and return to the community, what are you going to do? You're going to do everything that you possibly can to get back into that community and get your life back, right? This is a big deal. But one of them stops for a second and says, this is incredible and amazing, and I need to give thanks. I need to commit my life to giving thanks and joy. And so he goes back to Jesus and acknowledges what Christ has done for him. Now, what I really love about this story is that it highlights what linear thinkers we are. Now, and to be honest, one of the reasons that we as white Western Europeans, we struggle with Scripture is because it's a circular way of thinking, and we're very linear people. If you need an example, think of it like this. When we think of our calendar, it's constantly moving forward, right? We march forward. We begin at January, then we move to this, and then we move to this, and then we move to this, and then we're on the new year, right? We move forward. Always, 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 always. But that's not quite how it works, right? So what's beautiful about this story is we have very linear thinkers. We have the 10 lepers, 9 of which are very linear thinkers. They're on to the next step. Now that I've been healed, now I do this, now I do this, now I do this. And don't we live in kind of the same way? I mean, I'll be honest about me. Like, my life is very linear. So I grew up, and I did this, and then I set this goal, and I did this, and when I reach that, I do this, and then I do this, and then I do this, and I'm marching continuously forward until the day that I die. Wow, that's a great way to live. But that's how we think, right? We're constantly moving forward, constantly moving forward. We don't stop to look back. So the 9 lepers are not stopping to look back. They're not worried about what was in the past. They're moving forward. But this one person is different. This particular person stops, looks back at what has led them to this place, and is like, that's significant. I need to acknowledge that, give thanks, and live in joy, Thanksgiving. And guys, I think we need to hear that today. I think that's so incredibly important because all of us are constantly marching forward. We're constantly setting new goals. I've got this to do. And I'm terrible about it. Ask my husband what I'm like on Sunday afternoon. I'm going through my planner. I got lists to make. I got things to do. We got to plan the grocery list. We got to plan this. We've got these meetings. We've got this practice. That's how I live. I constantly set those goals. Okay, now we need to do this. Now we need to do this. You guys lived with me through 4 years of graduate school. You know what it was like. It's not pretty. But what if we learned from this particular person that interacts with Jesus? What if we took a moment and stopped in that constantly moving forward? We stopped, looked back, and we're like, there's some pretty crazy stuff that happened back there. And I'm pretty sure God was active in that. May not have felt like it at this time, but what if I stop and turn around and give thanks? What if I realize that God has so impacted my life that it's worth me changing the way that I see my life and living in a way that is giving thanks, that is a living of gratitude and joy and thanksgiving? What if we were 1 out of 10? What if we were 1 out of 10? Because think about it. In our society, we surround ourselves, we're pretty negative people, right? Can we be real for a second? We are super negative people. We are always worried about everything. And everything is awful. And if you don't believe me, go hang out with some people and be like, how's it going? Oh my gosh, I'm so stressed. You would not believe how stressed I am. And you're like, oh girl, let me tell you how stressed I am. And we get in an out-stressing competition. And we stress about the dumbest things. Like, I love this about the suburbs. We work so hard to live in these ridiculous suburbs, don't we? Do we enjoy it? No. We complain that our Odyssey doesn't work. Or we complain that the neighbors down the street left their garage door open. They forgot to take their trash pails in. Well, aren't we all kind of thankful that we live in a place where we have trash removal? I am. I have a degree in medieval history. I know what happens when you don't. Leprosy. That is right. That is a good thing. And I'm glad that my neighbor uses trash pickup. Thank you very much, because if they didn't, that would be unpleasant to me. So we spend so much time worrying about things and being negative and finding something to complain about. Don't we? It's not just me. And I'm not the most positive person in the world. Ask my family. Ask my boss. No, but what if we took a moment to stop? What if we took a moment to stop and say, oh my gosh, there are so many things in my life leading up to this moment where God is incredibly active. And what if I took a minute to turn around and look at those things for a second? To turn around and look at them and be like, oh, I need to live a life committed to gratitude. I need to live a life committed to sharing this story and how God has been active in my life and how maybe, just maybe, God is active in your life too. Because you do have trash pickup and you do have running water and sewage in your house, and that's a pretty cool thing. So today I ask us, are we going to run with the herd and be 9 out of 10? Or are we going to shoot for being the 1? Let's stand together.